Hey guys, how's it going? Your free hero weapons got leaked on Amazon the other day, so we're going to dig through a bit of history and speculate on what exactly these weapons are, what types of heroes they might belong to, and all that good jazz. So, starting off with the first weapon, because I can't actually show you the weapons themselves because, well, reasons, but I will leave a link to the Amazon thingy in the description. But Sword and Shield. Most likely a knight hero it's going to belong to because of the coloring and the symbols on the shield, that being yellow and green, and yellow is one of the colors associated with the knights, and a lot of Roman shields like the scutum have some sort of eagle or bird wings on them somewhere. It was the Roman aquila, after all, a strong symbol of Rome. That said, medieval knights still use birds on their shields, symbols for the knights themselves or something like that. A duck could mean that a man had a lot of money and resources, for instance, but a lot of Roman shields were rectangular or circular, and the shield teased screams kite or Hector shield to me. My money says kite purely because we're dealing with some big boys and big weapons here, and judging by current roster, we could use more chunky fellas. Kite shields were long enough to protect a warrior from ankle to neck, and as we haven't had that many big boys with big weapons, I'd say it works. Either way, I'm sure this will be a knight hero, and I wasn't expecting them to include another sword and board hero, considering the fact that each hero in the game has their own unique flair, and whilst Nobushi and Zhang Jun do seem to have similar weapons, they're clearly two separate fighters. That's not to say there would be confusion or much of it, but you know, maybe this is a bit of a non-issue, but I only bring it up because of the fact that the Vikings probably aren't going to have two sword and board heroes. This probably isn't a Viking hero, and it's easier to differentiate between the two. One's clad in armor and the other has a beard that's pretty long, so there you go. Next up we have the sword. It could be a Chinese jiang, a double-edged sword. They could reach lengths of 30 inches, but the two-handed variants could be much longer. I searched for a bunch of different Chinese swords, and many had some sort of curve somewhere or another, like the Wodao, which could have been 80 centimeters long, but also could be almost half that sort of length. We're talking like 45 centimeters roughly. Or even the Zanmadao, which was an anti-cavalry weapon, so we're talking big sword with long grip and, you know, something like the Highlander would carry, or, you know, those boss enemies in Breach. Anyway, we can't see the entire sword, but it's not a Jan, so I'm not sure what sort of sword it'll be. Could be a Japanese blade, and there's plenty of choice there, like the Chokoto single-edged straight sword, which was based off Chinese swords. I'm still betting that this is going to be a Chinese sword, though, purely because of the coloring. Purple for Wulin, so yeah, okay, I'll stop bringing up the coloring as the reason, but yeah. Now as for this next one, I've pretty much dedicated a video all to talking about it, the leak that was leaked ages ago. So yeah, the tease, I guess, not leak, but yeah. And so I'm pretty convinced that this is going to be for a Viking hero now. Not just thanks to the whole red cloth and the symbol and all of that, but the Vikings have quite a lot of axe heroes for one thing, and I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that the Japanese are getting the lost weapon, which is a big old axe, and yeah, Vikings have enough axes. Now, of course, that lost weapon is for the Japanese samurai, as far as I'm concerned, the ono. It's a word for axe in Japanese, and was more of a workman's tool than a weapon of war. Rare for an ono to be made just for war, but those versions of the weapons saw a larger blade, which could have been at least as large as 6 feet. I'm technically 6 foot tall myself, so the idea of having an axe in-game that's about as tall as me isn't a fun thought, but I guess that gives you some perspective as to how long this weapon is going to be, how large it would be if it was like next to you in real life. Does look like it's got some fantasy elements there, but then again, I'm no expert on axes, so there you go. Anyways, samurai using axes could be found on woodblock prints, which was an art style which saw the use as far back as the 8th century. Now, of course, that's talking purely about art, and we're talking about, you know, something that could pop up in a game and be kind of cool. What I mean by that is that just because it appeared in art doesn't necessarily mean it saw use historically, or, you know, those two things necessarily combined. But then again, we are in a fantasy universe when we're playing For Honor, so some leniency can exist there, and I also prefer the idea of having a nice chunky samurai and chunky samurai armor, as opposed to the suggestion I'm about to talk about being the fact that, well, monks seem to pop up quite a bit in history, and using these axes in battle, they were able to defend their lands and beliefs for some time. Not, of course, just using these axes. These monks were trained in the use of a variety of different weapons, but that did include axes. Of course, that could also mean that if this new hero turns out to be a monk, then we'll end up with something like a Shaolin 2.0, or at least there's a possibility that something like that could happen, with 400 ms lights, wonky animations, and anything else that will just annoy us all. But then again, if we get a fully armored Japanese warrior in samurai armor wielding an axe, then I suppose it would be closer to the dream of having that fully armored hammer knight or fully armored axe knight that we're probably not going to get now. Well, I suppose you've got Lawbringer, but meh. Anyways, those are my thoughts and speculations and opinions on the new For Honor Year 3 weapons and the possible heroes that could be behind them. Yes, I talked more about the weapons and the heroes, but we really haven't been told much about the potential heroes themselves, and I suppose if we're going to get any information about that soon, we'll find out on Thursday. So, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. Tell me what you think about these weapons. Do you think I'm horrendously wrong? Do you think I'm close enough? I guess we'll find out soon enough, or not that soon enough, but soon enough. So, yeah. And until the next video, have a very good day. I've been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.